We're here at the Wisconsin Active Threat Conference, and I met Shannon for the first time. And Shannon is a survivor from a school shooting when Shannon was only 6 years old. And I heard you present today, and I was really impacted. And I think that everybody needs to understand your story. Most people don't understand the long-term trauma and PTSD that someone that was in a school shooting as a little girl, goes through and deals with her whole life. I mean, it's been a long time, and you're still not only dealing with this PTSD, but now as an adult and as a mother, now you've turned into, this mommy who's fighting for school safety in your community. And so I get people reaching out to me all the time about what can they do to make their schools safer, what options do they have, what levers can they press. So I'd love for you to talk about your advocacy and your advice to other parents. And then, if you can also just talk about, what you went through and how you really didn't have anyone helping you. You didn't get any help, no mental health therapy, and for a long time.
Yeah.
It was upsetting, for me to hear that, because I know that now in Parkland we have a family liaison that helps the victims' families and helps the injured a lot, and it's helped us for years. And it really saddened me to hear that you had none of that. I know it was a long time ago, but I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
but the silence it did more damage than processing it at the time would have ever done, and the emotions that we would have been able to feel whenever we processed it. The silence, it took more people away later on in life. That I created the peer support group and have tried to get that information out to the people that were, at Oakland Elementary, September 26th, 1988, and experienced the shooting, and let people know about our support group. But, I haven't been able to reach everyone or reach people in time, and people were not able to deal with everything that they went through and didn't know how to process it and turn to unhealthy habits, or, just could not take it anymore, or took their own lives.
Oh my God, that's terrible.
It's the silence, when I say that it did more damage than
Can you elaborate a little bit? What do you mean the silence?
we were, the words move on were used with us.
Just move
And,
on.
it's time to move on. We were getting too much attention. Our school was getting too much attention. It's best if we just move forward and move on. And, these kids are resilient and they will be okay. But when you say move on, that's what it means, is not talk about it. And I mean, I had a brother that was at the school at the time, and we didn't talk about it either. Our family didn't talk about it. Our families, they did what the schools, what they were encouraged to watch for were things that no sleeping, no eating, crying all the time. They were,
But if you weren't doing that, then you were fine.
you were fine. You were fine. If we brought it up and wanted to talk about it, then we could talk about it, but don't push it. I was 6 years old.
Right.
I
Right.
didn't, I had no idea how to process what happened.
Of course. Neither did your parents, and you didn't
No,
have any mental health therapists
no,
helping you that had any experience.
no.
And
So teachers, they did what they could to help the students while they were still trying to, they experienced the trauma too.
totally, totally.
And they were trying to take care of all of us, and no one was taking care of them either.
For those that are not familiar with your tragedy, can you kind of just at a high level tell everyone what happened?
Yes, a 19-year-old entered our front doors of the school that were unlocked. All doors were unlocked in 1988.
Right.
Again, September the 26th. We were not in school. We'd been there 6 weeks. And he had no connection to the school at all. He drove around. He was wanting to get some publicity and hurt as many people as he could,
Wow.
but he didn't want to get hurt. He never, a lot of these, they plan on committing suicide. He didn't. And he went straight to the cafeteria, which is where I was with about 100 other students. And it was my class of 19 sitting right by the door. I was sitting by my teacher. He came in, shot her first,
Mm.
and whenever she stood up to tell all of us to run, he shot her again.
Wow.
Students, teachers, everyone started scattering, and he just randomly was shooting and ended up shooting 3 of my classmates as well. He left from the cafeteria, went down the 3rd grade, 4th grade hallway, reloaded his gun in the bathroom, and a PE teacher had followed him and tried to stop him, Miss Cat Finkbeiner. And he just pushed her out of the way, kept going in the classroom. And once he got in there, she continued to physically try to stop him, and he shot her and shattered her jaw. And he then proceeded to just shoot around randomly the room. And so he shot 5 students in there and pistol whipped another student in the head whenever the gun jammed. And 2 of those students, Shaquilla Bradley and Tequila Thomas, 8 years old, they were killed. Shaquilla Bradley, she died at the school, and Tequila died just a couple of days later.
That's terrible.
He put the gun down, left it on the floor, and went out the window where other students were escaping. Our principal happened to see him and didn't realize that he was the gunman until he handed over several forms of ID, his driver's license, his insurance card, social security card, and birth certificate, to make sure that they got his name correct.
Wow.
She searched him. He never put up a fight at all. Law enforcement came and they arrested him, and he is still alive. He is on death row, and he was sentenced to be executed, but that probably will not ever happen because he was guilty but mentally ill.
Of course he is.
So he planned everything. It was the judge found him guilty and still sentenced him to be executed because he clearly knew right from wrong.
I don't understand why we have these trials. If you're a mass murderer, they should just put you to death. It's unbelievable that we have to pay for him to stay alive and feed him and give him all this treatment and everything like that. So after this, there was no talking about it. They said just get over it for years and years. And so when did it start to come back and you start to realize that you needed more help, and then you started this peer support group for your community? It's not like you're like a social, it's not like you're like a mental health professional, right?
No,
I mean,
no. I just know what I feel and what I don't want other people to have to feel.
right.
And so whenever I would, receive any kind of help, I want to share that with other people. My daughter started school in 2005, and I realized that schools were no safer than they were in 1988.
That's a crazy thing to say.
Yeah.
That's so sad.
Immediately, just started asking questions and went from each level of command with the school. Started with the principal, then the superintendent, district office, the school board.
2005?
2005, yeah.
And we had Columbine in 1999.
Yeah, yes. And I'm like, it started off with a simple request for them to put the sensor doorbell. So it would ring in the front office whenever anyone came into the front office. Okay. Like when you're going in a store. I'm like, your people working in the front office, they can't be everywhere all the time.
Right.
If they're having to make a copy for somebody, if they're having to run to the restroom, right. I get that they may need to step away from their desk. Of
course.
What are you doing to support them? Can we get something in place so that there's a sound so you at least know when someone comes in the door?
Right. That should be a minimum.
So that finally happened, but it was only at my daughter's school. Eventually, she went to a different school, and I realized it wasn't there. I'm like, okay, I want my kids to be safe, but I want everybody else to be safe too. Can we do this at all the schools? And the doorbell sensor then became the request to, can we have the doors locked and have the camera system, have people buzzed in?
Okay.
After years of requesting that, it finally happened.
Good job.
So it's, and things have continued to grow and get better, and different things you don't think about until you see it, that something needs to happen. Right. And, trying to express the importance of not propping the doors open.
Right.
Things that are like the locks on the doors. A lot of the doorknobs you had to lock from the outside of the classroom with a
Right.
key.
That's how it was in Parkland.
Yes. And so, I have to kind of be sarcastic with people about it when I'm talking. I'm like, you're not gonna be like, okay, I'm sorry, hang on,
Yeah, exactly.
hold, please don't pull the trigger anymore. Let me lock my door
Right.
and then go back in.
Yeah.
Like you can't do that. And then it's okay, when you have subs, do they get a key to the room?
Right.
So it was just thinking about things. I thought about things differently than and I still do. I just thought about things differently than other people did. You got to quit thinking that it won't ever happen to you. If it hasn't happened to you, it's because you're lucky. That's it.
Yep, 100%.
Because it can, and anytime you see it happen anywhere, what do you hear?
I never thought it would happen here.
Yep.
And it's happening all over. We've got mass shootings every day in this
Mhm.
country, and you're so right that it's just unfortunate. It's upsetting that schools are not doing things proactively
Mhm.
until there's a terrible tragedy.
Mhm. And it took me a long time to come to the realization everyone doesn't think like I do.
Yes.
Because they didn't experience what I did.
Yeah.
And I can't fault people for that, but I can, whenever you're not trying, if things have been brought to your attention, there's too much going on in the world now.
Yeah.
For people to not know certain things, basic things that need to be happening to keep our schools safe.
There's a lot of evil out there.
Yep. Yeah.
And we can't stick our heads in the sand and pretend like it's not.
Yeah. And, so advocating for that, I went public. I would speak at school board meetings, news media, our local media would pick up on it, put it in the paper so that other people in the community would know what I was talking about, pointing out things, we have cameras, but they don't work. Just simple things that people didn't question, and I
Right.
did, that did not make me popular. But all of that brought up a lot of emotions and triggers that I didn't realize I was having an issue with myself. Yeah, with myself. And it's like, okay, maybe I'm not okay. Maybe this is not. I just shove it down, and I can't keep shoving it down if I'm sitting here talking about it publicly and tiptoeing around everything.
So is that when you started your support group?
I started the support group after going to a church training, an active shooter training with my daughter worked at a church. And I'm like, well, if the school's not going to train my kids on what to do, this church is going to have this training.
Wow.
And so, because we have a son too, and like, well, then the 4 of us will go as a family, and we're going to go to this active shooter training. And I know that it's not going to be good for me, but I'm going because I'm not going to send my kids to go do this. And I'm not, yeah. So Wayne Freeman was the one that was teaching it from South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, yeah.
Okay.
And that's what they do.
Yeah.
They've worked so many different active shootings, like at schools, and they know, they've seen kids, they've talked to people, they've talked to the parents.
Yes.
And he picked up on reactions that I had that I did not even realize that I was having whenever he was talking. So whenever I approached him and asked if I could give his contact information to the school district, because I was like, I would really love for you to do a training for them.
Yeah.
It's free.
Yeah.
He said, you were there, weren't you? Because he had brought Oakland up during his presentation.
Wow.
And basically calling our community out, like, you guys have had this happen here. You know it can happen.
Right.
It's already happened.
Wow.
But he said, you were there, weren't you? I said, yes, sir.
Wow.
And he said, I just want you to know that you are normal. You are not broken. And everything that you're feeling is normal for what you went through. You were basically a 6-year-old that had been put in combat and saw things that people who go to war, they are trained for, and you witnessed that at 6 years old.
Yeah.
And it was the first time that I had ever received any acknowledgement like that. I didn't know I needed to hear that until I heard it. But no one needed to tell me that either, because I didn't talk about it with anybody.
Right.
Yeah, not even my husband, not even my family, these kids I went to school with until I graduated high school, none of us ever talked about it at
Wow.
all. It was never brought up.
Hmm.
Um, but when he said that, that was when the advocating for school safety then also became advocating for survivors and for families of the victims, because I wanted them to know that feeling that I had when he validated my feelings and he acknowledged what happened. And that was when I started the peer support group.
So your advice to victims, survivors of mass shootings would be?
Talk about it. Talk about it with your peers.
Which is the opposite that they told you.
Yeah. They never told us not to talk about it. They
Okay.
never told us to get over it. They said it was time to move on. But that's what it meant. I mean, that is what move on meant. If I would have received counseling, which I do, we all wish that we would have received counseling
Yeah.
whenever we were kids. And then these teachers and staff that had to go in and they had to clean up the rooms and the school themselves. And, you know, but at 6 years old, if I would have received counseling then, I would still need counseling later in life, because I'm not going to process what happened as a 6-year-old the same way that I processed it as an adult.
Right.
And things happen throughout life that, you know, you may have to go back. You may have to go back and talk to somebody. You may have to step back yourself and be like, okay, I need to take a moment. This, because we're okay, but it never goes away.
Right.
And you have to remember that it's just a part of your life. It is a part of your life now, but there's healthy ways of dealing with it. And the sooner you learn that, the better you'll be.
Yeah.
We will be okay if we have the right support.
And you never move on, but you move forward.
That's right. Yep. And even I say it sometimes, it's just an easy word to use a lot of times whenever we talk about healing. Well, we're starting to heal, it, but it's different whenever we say it. It's not like we heal from it, like you know, when you have a wound that
Yeah.
heals, and sometimes you have a scar and sometimes you can't see where it was. We learn to live with it. It never goes away.
Yeah.
And something can happen that opens that wound back up.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I said, if you learn the ways to deal with it, and if you have support, if you have peer support, because a lot of people, you'll hear a lot of presenters use the same verbiage and say a lot of the same things, and it's not because we copy each other, it's
Right.
because we believe the same stuff and we have a lot of the same feelings. But EMDR and peer support are the two biggest things that have helped me.
I did EMDR as well, and that helped me.
And there's no way to explain it. And so when somebody else, I find out they do EMDR, and I say, it really messes with your brain. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, it's the most amazing thing.
Yeah.
When they explained it to me, she was like, I'm just going to move my fingers back and forth. I'm like, this is bull. This is not going to do anything. And it did. And it felt so good to be able to think back, okay, I don't know, I can't get out of the cafeteria. She's like, okay, take a break. We'll think about it. You ready to go again? Like, yeah. And so we go again. I was like, I can't leave past the cafeteria. And then third or fourth time, I'm finally like, I was trapped. I was a kid. I had nowhere to go. It was vulnerable. I didn't see it coming. I wasn't prepared. And it was like, once I realized it, it was like, okay, now I can move past the cafeteria. And then I went down the hallway. It was little stuff like that that her technique, she was good. She was
Yeah. She
good
brought you
for
back.
me. She was
Yeah.
good for me. And that's important too.
Yeah.
Is talking to somebody that's good for you.
Totally.
But you don't want to talk to people who don't get it. And the people that get it are your peers.
Right. That's why I, we've got R17, but there's no like larger umbrella group that all of the families of deceased victims of mass shootings or school shootings are can go and talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
I wish that there was, and it's great that you've created this, and Heather Martin created the Rebel Project,
Mm-hmm.
after Columbine for survivors. So, what do you think? If you get a magic wand, as far as peer support, how does
Mm-hmm.
that all what does that look like?
Yeah. Well, and it's like, who knows you better than you? Who knows your experience better than
People
you?
that have been there with me and are in that club, that nobody wants to be a part of.
Right. And so for us, it was like, if someone else outside who had never been through this created our group, would it really be what we needed?
Yeah.
Would they really know what we needed? And I think that's why it takes it. Any of the survivor groups that you see, they're created by survivors, and it's because we know and
Yeah.
we understand,
What you need and what they
and
need.
yeah, so it's it. I think it takes someone who has lost a child to start something, and as sad as it is, because it's like, we shouldn't have to do that. Somebody should do that for us, but let us have a part of it, or give us money for us to be able to do it.
Yeah.
Or, don't make us fundraise to have to do it.
Right.
But I've said it before, where I keep doing what I'm doing, because if I don't do it, who
Who's gonna
else
do it?
will?
Yeah.
And I truly think that that's the way it is with a lot of these support groups. You have to do it yourself, and that sounds horrible, but
Yeah.
there it could be that other people want the same thing, and they just don't know where to start.
Right. Well, thank God that you're doing what you're doing, and I know you're helping a lot of people. And look, you're transforming the community that you're in, making it safer, and impacting a lot of lives. So, you're doing
Thank you. Thank you. It's been hard. It's been a difficult journey, but you know, they you hear the saying, something good comes out of everything, and everything happens for a reason. And I don't know how you feel about it,
I don't believe
but I don't.
that.
Right? That's what I'm
No,
saying. Like,
there's
you,
nothing good that came
right?
out of my son being murdered, and that was not part of the plan.
Mm-hmm.
He's not in a better place,
Yeah.
or any of those sayings. Alex should be with us.
Right.
He should be here today, graduating college and living a great life.
Right. And I don't think people realize, whenever they make comments like that, what it does. And then at the same time, I guess I'm just like, well, it happened. So what am I going to do with it
Yeah.
now? What am I going to, I want to do something to make the world better from it,
Exactly.
and try to prevent other
Yeah.
people from having to
Yeah.
go through
And
what
you have a
I
family
did.
that needs you,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
loves you,
It
and
started off being, just about my daughter, and then my son starting
yeah,
school, but it's so much bigger than that.
yeah,
That was just the little nudge that I needed to move forward with trying to help everybody.
yeah. That's what we're all trying to do.
And that's hard. It's hard to try to help everybody all
You
the
can't,
time, and you can't.
you can't.
Yeah.
It's such a big country, so big, and there's
Yeah.
so many people that have not been impacted by gun
Mhm.
violence.
Mhm.
So
And a lot of times, hearing our stories, it makes it a little more real for them,
yes,
especially when they
totally,
see us in person,
yes,
and it's like, "Oh, you are a real person. This did really happen." Like,
yeah,
"Yeah, and I'm pretty upset about it."
yeah, exactly,
We're real people, and we have real families and
yeah,
real jobs outside of talking to people. But yeah, just, trying my best to leave the world better than